The ideal Kiwi batch is miles away, secluded. That's the whole point. But if something goes wrong, you've got none of the safety of the city. You're on your own. Kia ora, I'm Philip Alpers, and tonight on Heroes, a teenager trapped in a burning batch and no way to call for help, and a landslide of rubbish threatens to suffocate a young man and his rescuers. Lots of things end their days at the local tip, but people? The young man in our next story almost had his life snuffed out by a pile of rubbish. Actors recreate a dramatic day at the local tip.
It was winter, July 1970, at the Oronui tip near New Plymouth. Despite the lousy weather, two local teenagers were on the scrounge for a pre-owned gearbox, or pretty well anything they could find. The tip was a popular hunting ground for wrecks, and the rain made it unlikely they'd be disturbed.
Man, whose stupid idea is this anyway? Mate, I'm soaked already. Hope it's worth it. I can see the gearbox. Grass, mate. We need a spanner. I've got one in the car. Sounds good. Check the inside.
They didn't notice the danger. Days of rain had saturated the mud, the tip face, and the hill above it. As his mate walked away, Brian was left standing on a slip. The ground beneath him lay in wait for a false move, for the weight of the old car to shift, perhaps.
Brian!
Almost without a sound, the face of the tip had slipped away, the hill collapsed. His mate simply disappeared.
Brian! 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 No, Brian! Brian! No, Brian, come on! Where are you, Brian? Talk to me! Brian!
He wasn't getting anywhere. After a few desperate minutes of searching, it was time to run for help. Under a mudslide at the Oronui tip, a young man is buried alive. His mate, unable to find him, rushes to get help.
In a panic, he raced to the local service station. There he found volunteer fireman Murray Wells.
So I asked him a few questions, and he was pretty incoherent at the time. Anyway, I got out of him that he was buried under something, and so I called the local fire brigade.
By now it was dark. One of the volunteer firemen was Ross Tamati. When he got the call out, Ross was expecting to fight his very first fire.
And going to the fire station, and it's, oh, we've got to go to the dump. Fire at the dump. Let it burn.
But for Ross and his father-in-law, Jim Matuku, tonight was going to be wet and serious. Murray Wells arrived a short time later. He'd stopped on the way to pick up shovels and rope. Only his shaken young guide had any idea of the scene ahead of them.
By this time, this guy was pretty despondent. He said he's dead now. It's not worth hurrying about. Didn't really know how serious it was until we arrived up there. Really, I just couldn't think of how bad it was until we actually got there and then realised what had happened. And it looked pretty impossible to me to get him out. It was just a clean, whole face, and everything had slid from the top to the bottom. And down there was a jumble of trees and old cars, and everything was piled up at the bottom. We joined all these bits of rope together. Probably the best part of a couple of 100 metres of rope, and scrambled down this vertical slip face that had slid out.
Murray led the way for Ross and his father-in-law, Jim. Problem was, the three men had almost no idea where to start.
We didn't think he'd be there. We didn't think we could find him. Didn't think we know he'd be there, but his mate, he was kept well away. He was up on the ridge. All we can hear him yelling out and saying where he was, where he saw him last.
On the left! Hurry up! He's gonna die!
Looking up, Jim Matuku was in no doubt of the danger. The wall of mud above them was frighteningly unstable.
part of it was still rolling there. There was one tree there standing up on its own. That was our main concern. They thought that might fall down on top of us.
It was still standing upright, but it appeared to be moving all the time, and it was directly above us. It would have just wiped out everybody there.
Then, almost unbelievably, a sound came from inside the mud.
I can hear him! He's in here somewhere!
We heard a voice. We could hear him calling out, but we didn't know where he was. The voice was coming out from underneath this great heap of mud and trees.
The tumbling branches had buried Brian, crushed him, but also protected him from the mudslide. Somewhere under here, they knew he was still alive.
Jim! Jim, I got him! Don't
I
worry,
was
mate.
more pleased than anything because, you know, we'd found him. You know, at least we knew where he was. And that was, yeah, it was great.
Brian was firmly pinned under tons of debris, with more arriving every minute. As the local police search and rescue squad arrived, Constable Trevor Owen realised it could still take hours to get him out.
Okay. Some light. Okay, we'll all take over down here.
On arrival, it was just a natural tip, a stinking mess, as you'd expect. It was raining, quite heavy rain, and the rain continued, and there was the threat of this other half of the slip coming down and engulfing those there, you know, at any time.
I can feel him, but I don't know how tangled up he is. We can't touch the tree, it's too unstable. We're gonna have to go in underneath.
With their bare hands, they tunnelled under the face of the tip until a wire mesh Taranaki gate stopped them dead.
We need some snips down here to cut it out.
It was infuriating. Whatever they dug out was quickly replaced by sliding muck.
With all that stuff coming out, you know, you dig and you get along so far and you look back and it's all covered again. When you look back up that hill and you see all the stuff coming down, oh, it was scary, yeah.
Personally, I think it would have been good night and nurse because there was no place to run. We wouldn't have time to take evasive action. We were working, laying on our stomachs in the mud, water and stench, you know, but.
You know, but the more you pulled away from his leg, the more it came down, covered it up. I managed to get one free, and then a couple of hours later, well, I found out where the other leg was.
Trevor, this is Murray. Got a couple of guys up here who can relieve you. Over.
The three men had been digging for hours. They'd forged a good team. Rather than risk the extra movement and the delay of a change of shift, they wanted to stick it out, no matter what.
About this time, Nicholas Banks, who was a member of the Cliff Face Rescue Squad, arrived down with the rescue stretcher, and he was a smaller stature than Ross and I. He took over the digging of the trench.
Now there were four of them. An hour later, something in that threatening pile of trash finally seemed to shift in Brian's favour.
Yeah, freedom.
With one last heave, Jim and Trevor managed to squeeze Brian out. To everyone's surprise, he wasn't badly hurt.
But it was a great wave of relief through everybody that it was actually out and the thing was nearly over.
Ross Tamati, Trevor Owen and Jim Matuku had been digging with bare hands for 4 cold hours.
Okay.
As the police took over, Ross Tamati began to worry that he'd ruined the new jersey his wife had just knitted him. None of the three had the word hero in mind.
It was my duty, I suppose, being a fireman, to save a person.
You know, just helping somebody else, I think, you know, it's a great thing, but I don't put it down to hero. I think he might have done the same thing for me.
I just looked at it as part of the job, really. Rescuing, you know. I mean, it fact you save someone's life, well, that's the reward.
Well, I think anybody that down there was pretty heroic. Very dicey place to be.
Ross, Jim and Trevor all received police commendations for bravery. But Mrs. Tamati didn't give Ross any medals for the state of his new jersey. After 3 months of trying to wash it, she told him to take it back to the tip. I'm Philip Alpers. For more tales of genuine Kiwi bravery, join me again next week for Heroes.
We're continuing our chilling mini-series next, as Susie seeks revenge on her sworn enemy and ex-husband, Tom. Harry Hamlin and Kelly McGillis return in Bitter Blood, next on TV2.
This program was made with the help of your broadcasting fee, so you can see more of New Zealand on air.
Good night, kids. It's adults only time. See you here tomorrow on TV2.